As someone who's been a big fan of Joker for the past maybe 20 years of my life, I have to say that this story, where Joker rips off his face, is probably the scariest version of the Joker that I've ever read in years. Now, there's plenty of other Joker stories that I have read over the years that have, I want to say, elevate the character, and I'll point them up on screen here. Um, but I don't think any have come as close as this one, and there's a big reason to this. Now, for a couple of reasons, it's due to the imagery of this version of the Joker. Not only that, just the amount of levels that this character goes through to basically mess with Batman is just on a whole nother paradigm of insanity. But this version of the Joker, I have to say without a doubt, is completely different, and it's such a fresh take on the character. Best way I think I can sum it up or make an analogy for it is the Joker basically cuts off his face because he thinks of his face as a cocoon, and cutting it off, he becomes a huge murderous butterfly. But I never actually read any of the comic books following him cutting off his face, so I never quite got why he did it. But reading them is a whole bigger dive, and the imagery alone of the Joker in shadows with his cut off face, and you can't see his eyeballs or anything, but you can see his decaying face. It is fucking mortifying. I swear to you, last night when I was compiling all of the that just ruined the immersion of the video. When I was compiling all of the images for this video, I was actually kind of scared to leave my room with the lights off. Certain images are so fucking frightening that they actually, kind of resemble reality. Like, this is what the Joker would be like in real life. He'd be a guy that wears a janitor outfit, carries a fucking hammer, with a decaying, rotting face on his head. But anyways, I basically wanted to cover this entire storyline because it's such an interesting one and it's incredibly captivating. I hope you all enjoy. Enjoy the video. Now, back in 2011, DC Comics issued a new line of comics called New 52, which was meant to be a soft reboot of the comic book franchise. Within this new reboot, everything that ever happened in Batman's career happened within the span of 5 years. This also meant that not only Batman was changed, probably each and every one of the characters in his life was completely altered. And one of the most notable characters, and the reason why I'm making this video, is the Joker. See, after DC Comics completely rebooted the timeline for the New 52, Joker's character was given a refresh. Where in the older timeline, Joker would love toying with Batman, in this new timeline, he was getting a little tired of it. It was growing stale for him. He felt that a lot of the new Bat family members that were getting in the way of his plans were ruining his playtime with Batman, so he figured he would make a plan to kill all of them just to make it the two of them again. I should also mention that this was also so well received that the show Gotham even attempted to do the storyline. Now, the story initially picks up with the Joker being sent to Arkham Asylum by Batman after doing one of his old escapades, and in the process he sets up a meetup with Dollmaker. This meetup is set up with the Dollmaker so that he can actually remove the Joker's face and he can actually escape from Arkham Asylum, but not only to escape, but to also send a message to Batman that his old ways are over now and he's changed. And God does he prove this, because not even 15 issues later he makes his reappearance, and it's probably the scariest one yet. Because while Commissioner Gordon is just talking to his fellow officers, he looks down in the distance of the hallway and he sees a shadow looming over a mysterious figure, and this is the Joker. And in Gordon's words, he literally says, "No, not you." Right as the lights go off in the GCPD, because Joker just used an EMP to reclaim his old face. Also, I might add, while he's in the darkness, he starts to taunt Gordon. Using psychological warfare, he starts to taunt Gordon, saying that he's been living under his bed for a few days now, that he's been meticulously moving things around the house to play with Gordon's mind. And with every slight creak or giggle, you can slowly start to see Gordon just losing his mind. Right up until the lights come back on and Batman's basically there to give Gordon a sense of ease. But then they find out that Joker's old face is gone. Batman, knowing that the Joker is running rampant in Gotham City, he tries everything he can to get to the Joker as fast as possible, and he ends up following a set of clues that lead him to Ace Chemicals, to where he ends up finding Harley Quinn dressed up as Red Hood, basically taunting Batman for his biggest mistake, and to be a distraction for Batman. Because while Batman's at Ace Chemicals, the Joker is actually at Wayne Manor, and Alfred is left completely exposed, leading Joker to basically kidnap Alfred. When Batman gets back to Wayne Manor, he realizes that Alfred has been kidnapped, and he realizes that he also made the biggest mistake of his life. And to add a cherry on top, Joker also left a tape of him torturing Alfred to mess with the Batman. But within that very same tape are a set of clues that actually reenact a few crimes that the Joker committed a long time ago. And with that, it actually leads Batman straight to the Joker. Once Batman comes face to face with the Joker, he tries to make his move, but the Joker ends up calling him out on every single move that he ever makes, almost like he's been analyzing him for weeks. And Joker ends up systematically using each and every one of his tactics against him, trapping the Batman. He also says to Batman that since his plan was going to affect a number of lives and end up killing them, he just decided to kill them anyway before the Batman even got there. Batman, within the Joker's grasp, demands to know why the Joker is doing any of this, and the Joker tells him that he knows who he is. He knows who they all are, right down to what kind of soap they use in the shower. He's been studying them for months, telling the Bat family each individually that he's coming for them, that they're imposters and it's time that they face their fate. That it won't be the Joker that ends up killing them, but it will be Batman. Because somewhere, somehow, Joker found a little black book that Bruce Wayne made involving all of the different secrets that each of the Bat family members hold, basically creating a lie to drive a wedge between Bruce and the Bat family. However, Bruce eventually gets out of his bindings and he tries to get to the Joker before he can get away. He ends up grabbing him by the neck, demanding to know where Alfred is, but instead what ends up happening is the Joker's toxin actually touches Bruce's skin and it stops him in his tracks completely. Joker then tells him that Alfred is planning a family dinner for the both of them and that he can't wait for Batman to see it, right before kicking him off into the river below, knocking him out. Immediately after this, Bruce Wayne comes to in the Batcave, where the Bat family basically makes sure that he's alright and then tells him that they all need to talk. Each of the Bat family members demand to know how the Joker even remotely knows all of their identities and why Bruce didn't tell them about Alfred. Bruce then tells them that he doesn't even think that the Joker knows their identities, he's just using it as a bluff to drive a wedge between the family, and it's working. But that there still could be a slight possibility that he does know. So the Bat family ends up asking what this possibility could be, and Bruce begins to tell a story about the Joker. A long time ago in Batman's early career, Joker was trying to run amok in Gotham by using a blimp full of Joker gas to infect the entire city of Gotham. He ended up stopping his plans and knocking him into Gotham Bay. Batman would then end up using the Batboat to try and drag the blimp out of Gotham's path, and then he would search endlessly for the Joker's body for hours, but he never ended up finding the Joker. He would then end up giving up his search and returning back to the Batcave, where he would park his Batboat and go upstairs to try and sleep. And upon waking up the next day going back down to the Batcave, he ended up finding a mysterious Joker card laying beside the Batboat. After telling the members of the Bat family, they all become extremely angry that Bruce even hid this from them. But Bruce tries to defend himself by saying that even if he tried to swim into the Batcave, it would be nearly impossible. However, it's not enough for the Bat family to even forgive him for keeping this a secret for so long. Just knowing the slight possibility that the Joker knew who they all were all along and could have struck at any moment is just too much for them to take. But with that, Batman ends up leaving the Bat family with that information and tries to go to Arkham Asylum to see if he can find any more clues about the Joker. But when he gets there, he finds all of the workers at Arkham Asylum dancing endlessly. The Joker had returned to Arkham Asylum and held captive all of these workers and told them that if they ever stopped dancing, he would kill them and their families. To add to this, while Bruce Wayne is walking through the entire asylum, he has to go through challenge after challenge to find the Joker. And while doing so, Batman can't even believe that the Joker was able to do this under his nose for so long. The Joker would even go so far as to replicate certain events in their history as a certain tour in the asylum for the Batman to see, until it ultimately led to the grand finale of all of his villains waiting for him to sit on his throne, along with a few hostages to use against the Batman. However, this wouldn't be the end of the ride, as Joker would actually goat some hostages into trying to pull a chainsaw out of a stone and end up shocking them, just further torturing Batman. Batman would eventually break into the room to try and save some of the hostages from the villains, but Joker would end up dropping a huge cage on top of Batman, stopping him in his tracks completely, where he would then tell him to look to his left, where he would see TV screens of all of his family members basically getting taken down by the Joker. He then tells Batman to sit on his throne or else he'll never see a single one of his family members ever again. That if he doesn't, he'll never know where they ever went or what the Joker ever did to them. So he tells him to sit on his fucking throne. And that's what Batman would do. He would slowly walk up to the electric chair and sit while the Joker would shock him to near death. He would later come to in a dark cave looking at a dinner table with all of the Bat family members with bags over their heads, with the Joker seemingly being the host of their horrifyingly festive dinner. Batman would then tell the Joker that he was going to break every single bone in the Joker's body, but the Joker would then tell Batman that he's booby-trapped the entire dinner table, and that if he even gets up, the entire place will go up in flames. And while he's prepping the dinner table, he says that he needs some help, so he calls out to Alfred, and out of a small dark corner of the cave comes out a horrifyingly Jokerized Alfred, helping the Joker with his festivities. On top of this, Alfred also removes all the bags from the Bat family members' heads to reveal bloody bandages over all of their faces, and Joker would basically describe to Batman what it was like cutting off all of their faces. It was smooth, clean, and precise, unveiling all of the dinner plates to be their freshly cut faces, while telling them all in the room that he made it with love. The Joker then begins to say to Batman that he could have stopped him a long time ago. He could have stopped all of this misery if he just broke his one rule, and that the Joker knows that he could just kill him and then never kill again, but he doesn't know why he doesn't do it. He's proved time and time again that he's irredeemable to the Batman by capturing each and every one of his Bat family members. He just doesn't know why he won't kill him. But while Joker is talking and talking and talking to the Batman, Batman is planning his next move. See, Batman actually figured out what cave system they were under because he had worked on it a long time ago. So with Bruce bursting out of the dinner table seat, activating the traps, and setting a blaze to the room, Bruce would quickly grab a water spring from the top of them, dousing the flames, saving the Bat family completely, and Joker would just say to himself, this is not funny. The Joker would end up running away in fear into the caves, and Batman would check to see if his family was okay, and on doing the bandages he would find out that the Joker never actually cut off their faces. So with that, Nightwing would basically tell Batman to go catch that son of a bitch, and Batman would run off. But right as he did, the cat the Joker was carrying would set off a bomb, and each and every individual Bat family member would become Jokerized, and immediately start to attack one another while laughing endlessly. Batman would then immediately catch up to the Joker and tell him no more. The Joker would try to taunt him for saying this, but Batman would say no more of any of this, with Batman seemingly ready to kill the Joker. He holds him on top of a huge ravine and he tells him that this all ends tonight, that maybe he finally will go a step farther, and that on top of this he's finally broken the spell, that Batman finally deduced who the Joker was before he ever became the Joker, and he's willing to tell him now. And while Batman is telling this to Joker, Joker is in complete denial and he tries to shake and punch out of his grasp, but he can't, because down below is a huge drop that would kill any man. And while this is all happening between Batman and Joker, the Bat family is somewhat going back to normal. And back to Joker and Batman, Joker is trying to tell Batman that he's the only real family that he'll ever have, but Batman tells him that he's wrong, that the Bat family will always be his family, and he chooses that every time, right before telling him to come a little closer so he can tell him who he knows he is. However, before Bruce can even utter anything, Joker tells him to shut up right before smacking him and jumping into the river below. And that to Batman would seemingly be the end of the Joker, finally. And with that, the Joker would be stopped and the Bat family would be somewhat saved. The next day, Alfred would wake up somewhat feeling like hell, but glad to be alive, and Bruce would tell him that along with him, each and every one of the Bat family members is okay now, and he would tell him just to rest. However, before Bruce leaves the room, Alfred asks if Bruce is alright, but Bruce ends up telling Alfred that he once visited the Joker as Bruce Wayne. That a long time ago he went to Arkham Asylum under the guise of Bruce Wayne, investing into a new ward for Arkham Asylum. And while there, he ended up distracting some of the workers at Arkham Asylum long enough to find the Joker's cell, where he would end up visiting him. Bruce would then end up showing Joker the very same card that he left for Batman long ago. However, when Joker looked back at Bruce Wayne, Joker didn't even react. He didn't move a single muscle or say a single thing. And it was almost as if even if he knew Bruce Wayne was Batman, it would ruin the entire act for him. And it was then that Bruce knew that Joker would never care who it was underneath the mask of Batman. After this, Bruce would try to get in touch with each and every one of the Bat family members, but they would all kind of decline due to Bruce keeping too many secrets and not being too trustworthy anymore. And Joker would end up succeeding in driving a wedge between each and every one of them. And after spending a long time in the Batcave running an analysis on Joker's new toxin, the Batcave computer would analyze the new isotope as hanium, and the element symbol would turn up ha, ending with the Joker getting the last laugh after all. And with that, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.